by request, I want to continue talking about my cult experience. This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, here are the bullet points. In my early 20s, I was involved in a Schmeck's cult. It was called The Process, which was meant to imply that there's only one. This was the one, the first part of the indoctrination. And another bullet point is that it had basically 2 parts to it. The first was New Age therapy, lots of talking, and the second was New Age Schmeck's, which, as you can imagine, was a little bit more problematic. So I was involved in this group for about 3 years. I did take some extensive vacations here and there abroad, but for the most part, I was in it to win it, which was part of the indoctrination. It was kind of set up as like a spiritual video game that I was always just about to reach some new level and have some great spiritual breakthrough. Another reason why I stayed in the group for as long as I did is that there was this core teaching that I found it really hard to argue with. And that was there is only one form of love, and that is unconditional love. Everything else is control and manipulation. Now, since this was a Schmeck's cult, this was said in the context of polyamory and sleeping around, which was highly encouraged within the group. What I didn't know at the time was that it is a form of manipulation and control to police or direct other people's sexual behavior. Gurus do this all the time. Either they encourage, on one hand, promiscuity, or they're the kind of guru who encourages celibacy. Both of these limit the amount of emotional attachments and bonds that you're going to form with other people. Very often the guru will even split up partners and even families because the idea is that you're not supposed to form bonds within the group with other people. All of your devotion is supposed to be directed towards the guru. Now, in regard to what was called the physical work, there's a lot more that I could obviously share, but I'm not going to be doing that in this video. If you came here for the salacious details, unfortunately, I'm not going to give them. What I'm here to do is just to share some general parts of my story in the hopes that it's useful to others, and also to help begin to normalize these kinds of experiences, because I think they're more common than most people think. Now, in my case, I was fortunate because I was able to get out of the group pretty easily once I made the decision to do so. That was really the hard part. And that afterwards, I wasn't left with a lot of emotional scarring, which I realize is not always the case for people in these kinds of groups or in fundamentalist religions. In fact, I could even say that I'm grateful for the experience because I learned a fair amount. And in fact, I want to leave with a story, which is ironically one that came directly from my teacher. We were talking about gurus, and in one estimation, the role of the guru is to be basically a clear mirror to reflect back to the student his or her inadequacies or whatever. And my teacher said, well, how do you spell guru? And I said, well, G-U-R-U. And he said, right, G-U-R-U. Ironically, that was one of the big takeaways.